The iPad Air 2019 is a very interesting 10.5-inch tablet. While a lot of features are almost identical to the iPad Pro, it is a lot cheaper. Prices start at $499. Well, that is still expensive and some premium features are missing. So should you get it? I'm NJ for mynexttablet.com and this is my iPad Air 2019 review. iPad Air 2019 looks like a typical iPad. With 10.5 inches it is a bit bigger than the iPad Air 2 and as big as the first 10.5 inch iPad Pro. Compared to that one, the design is almost identical. It is almost the exact same body. It is very thin with just 6.1mm and weighs 456 grams. As usual, we're getting a full metal body and it is very premium feeling. You can get it in silver, space gray and gold. As you can see, Apple is using its old design here and it does not look as modern as the new 11-inch iPad Pro does. The bezels around the screen are wider, especially at the top and bottom. We don't get Face ID, instead there's the typical home button with the built-in Touch ID fingerprint scanner. That one works fast and precise. On its sides we get a power button, volume controls and even a standard headphone jack. I think every tablet should have one. I'm a bit disappointed by the lightning connector of the iPad Air. Apple should just switch to USB-C completely. Next to the lightning port are two speakers, and while those are stereo speakers, you won't hear any real stereo separation when watching movies because both speakers are on the same side. That's not ideal because most Android tablets that start at $300 have 4 speakers. With that being said, the sound quality out of those 2 speakers is excellent, and yes, better than what we get with most Android tablets. Especially when considering that this is a tablet, the bass is very good and the sound is clear. There's a 7 megapixel front facing camera and the one on the back has a resolution of 8 megapixels. Most tablets don't have great cameras. And while the quality is not as good as the one from a premium smartphone, photos and videos look good for a tablet. However, you cannot record videos in 4K. Let's get to the display of the iPad Air. It has a diagonal of 10.5 inches and a very high resolution of 2224 by 1668 pixels. That means it has a pixel density of 264 ppi and that is very high for its size. Everything looks nice and sharp. It is an IPS screen with wide viewing angles and it is fully laminated, but that's what we're used to from the iPad Air predecessor already. Because of that and its anti-reflective coating, you won't see reflections as easily. Oh, and it is very bright with 500 nits. Contrast and color reproduction are excellent and it does support Apple's True Tone technology. That means it is replicating the color temperature according to its surroundings. Most of the time that looks great, but you should be careful with it when editing photos, for example. Overall, I think the iPad Air has an excellent screen. It is very bright, looks pretty and I'm sure everybody will be happy with it. However, compared to the Pro, it is missing Apple's ProMotion technology, which basically means it has a refresh rate of 120Hz. It is very hard to see a difference in real life though. Inside the new iPad Air runs the same Apple A12 Bionic processor we've seen in the iPad mini 5 and iPhone XS already. Additionally, we get 3GB of RAM and you can choose between 64GB and 256GB of storage. There's no micro SD card slot. If you want, you can get 4G though. As you can see in my benchmark comparison, the performance is very good. Yes, it's not as powerful as the A12X of the iPad Pro, but much faster than all Android tablets. I should also note that it is faster than the simple iPad and the old 10.5-inch iPad Pro. Well, so we get the same chipset as the iPhone XS has, and that means that I don't have much to say about the performance. Obviously iOS itself and pretty much all apps run very nicely. Those include Safari, YouTube Lightroom and LumaFusion. I often use the 11-inch iPad Pro and compared to that one, I can't see any real difference on the iPad Air. Sure, it's faster than benchmarks, but in real life it looks the same. Affinity Photo seems to run identical, for example, and it performs well with multitasking too. I think you will see a difference once both tablets are older and apps get more demanding, but certainly not now. The gaming performance is excellent too. Demanding games like Fortnite and PUBG Mobile run with highest settings very smooth. And I mentioned it in my iPad mini review already, PUBG Mobile looks much more detailed than on the Huawei MediaPad M5 which is one of the fastest Android tablets. Overall, I think the performance of the iPad Air is outstanding, but still, technically the iPad Pro is faster. It's just hard to notice a difference right now, but that will probably change over time. Let's check out some accessories. You can use the iPad Air with the original Apple Pencil and the same keyboard cover Apple sold for the 10.5-inch Pro. While Apple Pencil 2 is not compatible, you can use the Logitech Crayon. Well, we've been familiar with the Apple Pencil for many years now, and it works exactly as it does on other iPads. The stylus can recognize how hard you press, and if you're holding it at an angle, you can use that to draw shading. It is a good pen to draw with or to write down handwritten notes. I think the stylus doubles as a great mouse replacement too. I like to use it with apps like Affinity Photo or LumaFusion, for example. The Apple Pencil is charged using the lightning connector of the iPad Air. That's how you connect it the first time too. I mentioned it in my other iPad reviews already. With this pen, it feels like you're writing with plastic on glass. I mean, that's really what you're doing. However, the pens from Samsung and Microsoft feel more like paper because they've got softer tips. To get a similar feeling, you have to get a special kind of screen protector for the iPad Air. Alright, let's get to its keyboard, the Smart Keyboard Folio. I said it already, it is the same keyboard we've seen with the earlier Pro tablets, and this one works with the Air too. On the side of the tablet is the magnetic connector. That's how you connect the keyboard without using Bluetooth. It also means you don't have to charge it separately. I think it's a bit disappointing that the keyboard cover protects the screen but not the back. Apple changed it with the new ones. I also think that the folding mechanism is not ideal and not well thought out. You can use the tablet in one angle only. The keyboard itself is fine. Because of the 10.5-inch screen, it's a bit smaller than from what you're probably used to from your desktop or notebook. You can't press the keys down much either, but that's what we're kind of used to from Apple anyways, and you can get used to that. I've typed a lot with the 11-inch iPad Pro keyboard in the last couple of months, and the keyboard itself is pretty much identical to the iPad Air ones. The keyboard is very good if you're looking for something small and portable. However, if you want to replace a real working machine with the Air, you probably should get a real big keyboard that can sit on your desk. As we are sadly used to by Apple, official accessories can be very pricey. While the Apple Pencil costs $99, you have to pay $159 for the keyboard. Apple is shipping the iPad Air with iOS 12. Based on the past, it will get updates much longer than any Android tablet will get. That's very good. I'm sure most of you are familiar with iOS, and I don't have that much to say about it. If you haven't used an iPad in the last couple of years, it's important to know that iOS supports real multitasking now. You can open two apps side by side and even open a third one on top of that. The drag and drop feature works great too, and you can navigate it using gestures. In the case of the iPad Air, you obviously can use the home button as well. The typical restrictions of iOS have not changed. While there's a Files app now, you don't get any real access to any kind of file system. You can connect accessories like SD card readers, but you can import photos and videos only. And that's the case if the camera manufacturer saves those in the folders Apple prefers. You can't import videos recorded with a Sony camera, for example. And if you save PDFs, Word documents or audio files on the SD card, you can't access them either. However, overall, I think the software of the iPad Air is great. Everything runs smooth, multitasking works great, and you can get way more apps that are optimized for tablets. Among those can be really professional ones like Affinity Photo, followed by real Photoshop later. In my battery test, the iPad Air got a runtime of 12 hours and 30 minutes. For this, I'm always looping the same HD video at medium brightness. As you can see in my battery comparison, it does not last as long as the iPad Pro, but still, it's a very good result. Alright, let's get to the end of my iPad Air review. My final verdict is positive overall, very positive. Even when considering its price of $499, I think the display and especially the performance are excellent. It is faster than all Android tablets. Other aspects like battery life, metal body and fingerprint scanner are great too. At the same time, iOS is a stable operating system with a lot of apps optimized for tablets. On the negative side, I wish Apple would stop using the old lightning port. It's also disappointing to see that both speakers are located on just one side. The sound quality is great, but most Android tablets for much less have 4 speakers. Let's check out some possible alternatives. If you're looking for an even better tablet, you can only check out the iPad Pro. That one offers a bit better screen, is much faster in benchmarks, offers 4 speakers, USB-C and better cameras. Its keyboard cover does protect the back and it supports the Apple Pencil too. You have to pay a lot more though, prices start at $799. A cheaper iPad is the simple 2018 iPad. Its 9.7 inch screen is a bit smaller and it's weaker overall. The screen is not laminated, so you do see an air gap underneath the touchscreen. While the performance is weaker too, I think it's still good enough for most. It's not as premium feeling as the Air or Pro, and that's mainly due to the not laminated screen. However, it's much cheaper with prices starting at just $299, depending on the market obviously. If you prefer Android tablets, you could check out the Samsung Galaxy Tab S4. With that one, you get a very pretty Super AMOLED screen and it is the fastest Android tablet currently available. The iPad Air is faster though. Still, we get 4 speakers, USB-C and the very good S Pen is included at no extra cost. Especially when considering that it is much cheaper with prices starting at around $500, again including the S Pen. Alright, that's my review of the iPad Air 2019. If you have any questions, feel free to write me down below and check out mynexttablet.com and this channel. I'm reviewing pretty much all tablets that are released almost worldwide. I'm Anjay for mynexttablet.com. Thanks for watching and until next time.